real quick. And yeah, this is through some stats. We're now at 74 sessions. We have had 109 guest speakers. 370 members have landed jobs through AHF, and we are at 3,000 plus members. We've reached a milestone. Again, hats off to everybody who's volunteering here, and Danny particularly. This was your vision, and this came from your heart. So 3,000 members, that's huge. Onward and upward. Next thing we know, we'll be at 5 and then 10. We keep striving, and we're going to get there soon. I can't wait to see those numbers go up, but 3,000. Who would have thought? Raul, we have a guest speaker that I know that you're intimate with, and I feel that you would be the best to introduce her.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Adam. It's really my privilege today to introduce Nicole Allen. She's been my mentor since my Microsoft days. Um, I pasted a LinkedIn profile and little blurb in the chat here. Please go through that and you will see ton of things, which I'm not going to talk right now. But she has led so many things as an engineer, as a program manager, as a leader, and contributed to the products we use in day-to-day life at Microsoft. Just to name few, Outlook, maybe it is Teams, Microsoft.com, and many more, right? So, but I have seen her lead through so much empathy and growth mindset and inclusive mindset, which I have rarely seen in any leader. So it was so awesome to learn from her directly and also passively while she leads at Microsoft. And I'm so happy to finally have Nicole here to guide us. I hope, and I know I know for sure you will get a lot of value today from what she has to present here. Um, just to give a little bit of other background, she has worked at Microsoft for 30 years. She holds 5+ patents. She has a degree in physics and mathematics. She also holds a PhD in experimental physics. And she's an awesome human being. So I don't know where I can keep listing out these adjectives. I
I
won't
don't
stop
think you
for
should,
1 hour.
Rahul.
But I
Thank
will
you for all of that.
Thank you. So Nicole, floor is yours. We're looking forward to hearing from you today.
Thank you. And I've said this before, but it was such a privilege and pleasure to work with you and mentor you before, Rahul. And you've always had such positive energy. So I was really happy when you connected with me again here for this. So
thank you.
All right. So with that, shall I share my slides, Adam?
Yes, please.
All right. Let's see. Let me know if everyone can see that.
See it on my end.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. So I have a few slides here, and they're really just to give me a prompt for what I want to cover. Adam mentioned that questions are usually saved to the end, but I'll tell you, I don't mind being interrupted. This is a relatively small group, and I'm happy to take questions as we go. It's actually can be helpful because maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I forgot to give some basic information here. So with that, I actually, so I'm going to give the history of my situation, how I ended up looking for a job, and then how I went about it. And I used a lot of AI tools, which, I mean, that is what's happening right now in the world, in the industry, and I found it useful. But hopefully you'll find some good ideas here which go beyond just simply AI tools. So with that, a little bit about me. I know Rahul covered it as well. This says 25 years building products. It actually is closer to 30. I've led teams, had several different disciplines at Microsoft, developer, tester, currently a product management leader. So lots of projects there. Outside of work, I live on a farm. We moved to one about 6 years ago with COVID with my family. And in the last couple months, I've been, because I had the job search, but that also gave me some free time to do some other learning. I've spent a lot of time working with AI agents and learning how to work with them. So I built a website. That's what the little monkey represents. And then the AI job search, which is, you know, a little structure I built using AI to organize how I was looking for a job. So that's what I'll be talking about today. All right, with that. So what happened was at Microsoft and in the industry in general, we've seen so many layoffs and so many teams downsizing, and they're saying it's because of AI, but there's really a lot of factors, including the fact that the tech companies hired considerably, like 10 to 20% growth in all companies around the year 2020. And they're trying to right size. So I don't like it's often framed as AI, but I think it's a little bit more complex than that. And I've been a leader during that time. I had to lay people off. You know, that was really the low point. I've done that before, but recently we had to do a lot more than normal. And I never felt like my job itself was secure because we had a lot of changes happening in the company, and they took several different teams, brought them together, and then they had too many leaders. And so I knew that there were going to be eliminations. But in February, nonetheless, I was still surprised to find out, okay, now my role is going to be eliminated. I will say I was extremely fortunate because I had the foresight to be thinking about that. And then on top of that, my role was not eliminated. I was told it will be eliminated, which was a real blessing because it gave me that time to actually begin a search, right? Without having the difficulty that most people have to face. So I recognize I felt very grateful for that. Even though I can honestly say I was going through a ton of other emotions. And so with that, obviously, even with that, the first thought was, oh my gosh, I got to find something. You know, I'm not ready to retire. I've got kids I'm supporting, whole family I'm supporting. And so the first instinct was like, run out the door and start applying or start, talking to everyone. That's not a good approach, obviously. And so I was like, wait, let me think about this. I recognize that job searches take quite a while. The amount of time it takes has gone up substantially, and I'm saying that from what's been reported in the news and then from talking to a lot of my friends and people that have been laid off, the time to find a job takes longer. So I kind of knew that I needed to be thinking about it from that perspective. And that meant just being thoughtful about it. It was also in my mind that I didn't want to take my best opportunities and try them out initially. I wanted to think things through, get my resume in shape, figure out what I wanted to do before I acted. So that is what I did. I mean, I think I took, it was on my mind constantly, but it took a couple weeks before I really got moving. All right. So the other thing that I believe as a leader is that we are not machines. We have always, whatever's happening, we have an emotional reaction to it. And you have to take the time to honor that reaction and think it through. So that's something I did for myself here. I do it for people who are on my team if they're having a challenge, if I'm coaching someone, but also I do it for myself. So I'm like, how am I feeling about all of this? Scared about the future, embarrassed to lose my job. Like you could go on and on about all of the ways that I had so much uncertainty, and I've had this job for a long time, and I'm like, all that questioning yourself. Where did I go wrong? So I took the time to just accept the feelings. You're not trying to fix the feelings. The feelings are the feelings. Just accept the feelings. And that lets you, once you've acknowledged them, it's easier to then, okay, now I'm going to put the feelings aside and figure out, okay, now what's the best thing to do going forward? So I'm just pointing this out as a critical step that I took. Once I had acknowledged the feelings and processed everything, not to say that I didn't have moments after this where I was sad or upset or anything, but this was a good moment to ground in the problem and see where I was, which allowed me to look past some of it. So then I thought, well, okay, so how am I going to approach this? My career is as an engineer, as a product manager. So I'm going to treat the job search like a job itself. And so I'm thinking and I knew I was going to be applying for a bunch of jobs. So how do I make the process of applying for jobs effective, efficient, give myself the best likelihood of finding a job through this effort? So in my case, I build systems. So I built a job system for it. So that was just how I got myself organized. As it turns out, and I won't say that I came into this with it all figured out, but I thought about like, what's this process going to look like? Like starting with who am I? What do I need? What do I want? What do I need in a job? That would be the second phase. Like, what are the job criteria? What is it that will work for me? That I can still put food on the table for my family. Then I will begin the job search. Then I will apply. And then the last one, that study and prep, is then I'm going to be doing a lot of work to prepare myself for interviews, prepare myself for new jobs. And actually that study and prep was something I ended up doing throughout as a way of when I had additional time that I needed to do something productive, I would study for some of the areas that I was interested in working in the future. So those are the 5 phases that I identified. All right. So let's talk about, what did I figure out about myself, that knowing yourself. So I actually took some time and thought about what are my skills, expertise. You have to do that to write your resume. The proof points are statements or stories of things that you have done, what you have delivered, what the impact has been. So you go from your skills to the things that have actually come out of the work that you've done. How am I unique or different? And then what are areas that I understand deeply? So putting a bunch of that on paper, not necessarily to share with anyone, was very helpful, though, to remind me in an otherwise low time, no, I have value, I've done things. It was a way of grounding myself in just the reminder of who I was and what I was good at, so I could move forward from a position of confidence. Then I needed to think about what are the things that I like doing? How do I like to work? What do I want to do? Like what types of work would I want? And this was a moment too where I also explored, hey, the industry is changing for tech. Is there a different type of job I should look at? Or I've been a product manager, maybe I want to move on into operations, or just to explore sales, anything. I took a moment to think, what are the different types of jobs I would be open to? And then what would I really love, right? So I got to think from that perspective as well. Like, here's what I want optimally, and here's some other alternatives, just depending on what I find. And lastly, I had to think through what were the non-negotiables. Like for me, I actually have a hidden disability. You can't see it, but I get migraines very easily. I work remotely because it enables me to control my environment. So for me, remote work actually was a non-negotiable. And that's a difficult non-negotiable these days, right? There's a lot of return to office. That was probably my main non-negotiable. But nonetheless, like I think all of you have to get clear, like, what is it you have to have, for your own health? And I also had an idea of what's my minimum salary where it would still make sense to take a job, versus not. So there's just being clear on that gives you flexibility. All right. And then I did mention that I used AI. So I took, with all of this, I did have access to some coding models as well as ChatGPT and the free, a lot of the free chat ones. Some of this I did in chat, some of it I did in GitHub Copilot with the Copilot CLI coding environment, but you can do it anyway, honestly. Mostly I would start to build documents that help me just document the answers to these questions for myself. Again, I'm doing it for myself to be structured, to be organized, to know what mattered. But when you start to have those documents, if you have Claude Cowork or Claude Code or Codex or any of the other coding ones, you can give those files to the agents and they can reason over it and they become a better help in making decisions. And so I definitely took advantage of all of that. I had a project with all of this context about what I was looking for set up. In addition, I think I mentioned, having figured out what I needed in a job, I actually made a rubric where I said on all of these categories, on the location, on the mission, on the compensation, I gave each, I decided on a range for a score, and then I could score the job against these things. And that way I could only focus on the jobs that really seemed to fit. I'm saying this like I did it. This was something I fed into the agent. And when I found a bunch of jobs, I had the agent rate the jobs, and the agent came back and said, here's the top 20 jobs you should apply for, which saved me a lot of time. And the agent was able to choose again because I had defined what was important to me and had that written down and had said what my skills were and had written down what types of jobs I was looking for. And so that took a lot of the heavy lifting off of me at that point. So, and with that, this is a little bit more about the system that I've been talking about. So basically I had a folder, it had an about me, where I put in information about my story bank is probably more important than my writing style, but my story bank, the ideal jobs that I wanted, there were a couple more types of materials in there. I had my resume in there. I had other evidence of skills that I had. Then I had my definition of what was important in a job, so the criteria and the weighting. And at that point, I was able to ask the AI, go, find some examples of jobs, et cetera, and find some for me. But either way, whether you've identified some jobs or the AI has identified jobs, you give a folder per job, and that's where you can figure out for yourself, is this, how would you rank it? What jobs are most interesting to you? And the reason for doing that, whether it's with AI or not, is where are you going to put your energy? Because there's infinite, it doesn't feel like it because it's hard to find a job, but there's infinite jobs. You don't have the time and energy to look at all of them. So you do need to be selective. You need to choose a few that are a combination of you have some likelihood of getting it and it's a decent fit. You don't want to bother to apply to the stuff that you're not going to take anyway, or you don't have a chance of getting. So I used AI as well. It did a fit analysis by looking at my resume and skills, and it was to be like, you have everything needed for this job, or for this job, you're lacking in these areas. So that helped with the decision. When I had an actual contact with the company, I would do outreach. That's always very important. I think I cover that a little bit more. So I'd be tracking all of my interactions related to that job there, and as well as the notes. We'll talk about, I think I mentioned that I always would do some studying. So if there's a fit analysis gap, that would be something that typically would go into a study topic. So I could at least be conversant in the topic. There was some jobs I was reaching out to for companies where I hadn't used their software. So I did some basics on learning about how their product worked, and some of the technical details as well. So all of that went into study topics. And last, you see the scripts. That's where I did the scraping of jobs. I used Playwright to do a bunch of hunting and searching, as well as on the internal Microsoft site, identify a bunch of jobs for me. Again, not something that you can do yourself manually, but it was nice to have that type of automated help. All right, so I will move ahead. I'm just checking. No questions. Everyone's very quiet. Okay, so I talk about AI, but I also have to, be honest. The hard work is still the work you have to do yourself. It's that inner reflection. It's that honest assessment of skills versus what you're really passionate about. And for me, I had to look back at the types of jobs I had and say, what did I like about this job or not like about it? Where did my own skills fall short? Is there a job that's a better fit? So I think that's just super important, because you want to get yourself into an area, A, that's hiring, but B, that you're going to light up in, because that's going to show in the interview too. If this is an area that you're truly passionate about, people will pick up on that, and that will give you an edge as well. So it's another way of helping you put your energy in the right places where you're most likely to have success. Go ahead. I see a hand, Jean.
So since you have your professional arc is a long one, and I've just wanted to piggyback on what you just said. Like, when you look at the successive role, if you could share with us, like, what was some of the driving motivation between the choice that you made, or how did you integrate what you like as a person into what you did, because I'm just saying that because when I finished college back then, it was just work for a big company and of a big check.
Yeah. So that's a really good question, and it's an important one. I mean, I think I'm going to answer first. Pre-AI, you have to go, like you have a list of 10 things you like, and you go talk to people like, hey, I'm good at these things. What do you think would be like, what are jobs that you know about that I might be good at, right? And you'd learn about different jobs and have to kind of do that. That sounds okay, or that doesn't sound okay. And that's why people often went into the same job as what their parents did, right? Because that was all you knew. And we know a lot of people now, so we might explore other jobs. I actually took all of this and my own thoughts and had that chat with ChatGPT. What other types of jobs would I be good at? Right? And I talked about different jobs I'd had and what I liked or didn't like. And it kind of like one of the things that pointed me at was implementation of software on behalf, like I'll use a real example. Adobe, Adobe, the company, they have sorry, I just had a notification that my screen locked for half a second. That there are people that help roll out the software for other companies. So it was not a engineering role; it was a consultant type role. But I was like, oh, I probably like talking it out. It's like, oh, you'd probably be a good fit for this because you like working with people and you understand systems and you could, So it was like a change in job title, but a fit for the types of work. And that's the type of thing you're looking for, where it might be in a different discipline, but it still takes the same types of skills. So is that helpful? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so all right, I'm gonna move to the next one. I don't think I have too many slides. Okay, this is real talk. I definitely felt that just raw applying to roles was not going to be very effective from everything I'd heard from everyone else. You apply and you apply and you apply and you don't even hear back. And so I did apply to, I don't know, 15, 20 jobs directly. And it was like months before I got the rejection and nothing in between, right? So that matched what I was expecting. The way, what I found was way more effective was the networking. Going through, I actually literally took my LinkedIn connections. In LinkedIn, you can go to your settings, privacy, and you can export all your connections. I did that into a spreadsheet. I looked at who I knew at different companies that I'd worked with. I reached out to a few people and asked them what they thought of that company. How are they doing? And in a couple of cases, they had glowing things to say. And I said, do you know of any jobs there that could be of interest, or that might fit the type of thing? And in a couple of cases, the answer was yes. And that ended up leading into an interview because I got an internal recommendation from someone who worked there. And so, like, again, the way I approached it was like, first check in on someone, what do they think of that job? How are they feeling about it? People want to be helpful. So if there's anything, they'll usually be happy to answer your questions. A lot of people don't know, they may not know how to get you an interview. That's okay. That's not really it. You're trying to learn a little bit. You can go then to the company website, look for a job, come back to that person that's your contact with the link to the job and say, I'm interested in this. Can you ask a recruiter internally if I can, if I can get a connection, right? So work through some way to have some type of more direct interaction with a human in the company. Because I think right now the external applications are getting very inundated. They're just there's just too many people applying. I applied for jobs that had like 3,000 applicants. I got in a couple of them. They were like, oh yeah, there were 3,000 applicants. So I'm like, geez, the fact that I'd gotten an interview because of a connection, right? And so I say all that because I think the very fact that you're here in this group, you recognize the importance of human connections, help each other, and just recognize the smallest thing that you can do for someone might be more than you realize, because just getting their email name to somebody else so that they can write an email, it's that you might feel like you're just doing one small thing, but you're helping them get that foot in the door. When you do then get that foot in the door, you have to write here's who I am and why I'm a great fit for your company mail. That's on you to do. Like your contact is just getting you that little tiny bit. You're not really imposing on them for much, but it makes a difference. So that's where that warm intro, the other thing is, one of the people I spoke with, I gave them the paragraph about me so that they could say, hey, here's Nicole, she blah, blah, blah. Then I've got a connection and intro, and I can add more to that. So don't make if you're asking for a favor, for support, for help, don't make that person do too much work. You help them out with what they can say about you. Okay. So on the far right, that's just the raw applying. Again, sometimes that works. I'm not saying never do that, but you want to lean more towards the middle and the left side, I think, to be effective in the current job market. It's not just the current job market. It's always that way. I think I've heard, that basically a really high percentage of jobs happen through someone knows someone, and has been that way for a long time. All right. All right. So if you've got the job, or you found a job that you're interested in, and this is the reaching out, again, here's where I also used AI. I provided it with some instructions about how to write like I do, and then I had it write the emails. Why did I do that? I'm perfectly capable of writing emails, but you know what? I'm not awesome at selling myself. And the agent did a better job of promoting me than I did, because I don't always feel comfortable promoting all the stuff I've done. So I'd let the agent write it, the AI write it, using, again, grounded on real information about what I had done. And then I would check it and make sure it was right and tweak it a bit. But that really helped. In the past, when I'd looked for jobs a long time ago, I remember I really delayed in writing cover letters. I hated writing my resume. It was just not where my skills were, and I felt super uncomfortable doing all these. AI having it write for me, so nice. Just took away the stuff that I used to get stuck at. So I would say don't be, maybe that's not everyone here's problem, but don't hesitate to use AI for a lot of this stuff. All right. Okay, this one's kind of funny. I mentioned how I would say, oh, here's a job I'm applying for, but I don't know this particular area. So I definitely would say to any of the agents, you can use, like I said, ChatGPT, hey, here's the job I'm applying for. Here's my resume. And then here's what I need to learn. I need to fill the gap and learn about blah, blah, blah. Write a paper for me about that. And I'd have them write it. And then I actually had, and this was with the coding AI, I was like, generate a quiz. And then I had it give me the quiz. So I would read papers that I told it to write for me until I felt like I understood an area. And then I would take quizzes that it would create for me. So this is this personal learning journey. And then when I got better than an 80% on the quiz, I had it generate a little certificate for me, because then I'd feel like, look, I've accomplished something today. And it was kind of funny because, of course, I'm the one coming up with the whole thing all the way through. But nonetheless, I would go home, tell my husband, look, I got a certificate on X, Y, and Z today. So I've got all my certificates from studying.
Nicole, I love that. I love that. It's such a great idea. This is Kim. And I like that you're telling it to write a report. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So
I'd say write a paper for me, write a report on this. That would give me several pages of reading to do. And sometimes I'd go, okay, this area, I want now write a report on just this piece and go deeper. Yes.
I had Notebook LM when I was bringing in some videos of some training, and I already had a slide deck, but I told it to create a slide deck, gave me a couple quizzes, kept on, give me harder questions,
yes.
harder questions. And so right. I did a little bit of this, but yours is so much better. So thanks.
Yeah. And I think that the thing about the certificate, by the way, is I was intentionally hooking into the fact that when you have a job, you get rewarded, people acknowledge you, you get dopamine from this. We're not getting that anymore if you're in the job search. You don't have a daily purpose in the same way. So the certificate gives you that little feeling of dopamine. So, that's the way your brain works. You can use it. Go ahead. I see a hand. Jimmy.
Yes. Hi, Nicole. Yeah, I wanted to ask, earlier when you mentioned about you've been saving a lot of the different searches on the AI platform that you've been using and keeping it in a folder? Are you using like Claude AI or are you using ChatGPT?
I did both, but for the folder work, when I kept it in a folder, I was using, I've used Claude Cowork, that would work. I've used Claude Code, and I was using GitHub Copilot. I actually, for the techies here, I would save it as a repo in GitHub, that way, and then be working within usually either Claude Code or GitHub Copilot, the command line interface.
Okay.
And so it was as if it were a coding project, but it didn't have much code in it. The only code it had was for going out and scraping for jobs. But essentially, it was just all that context.
So just like, for example, in Claude, where they show folder, an option for folder, that folder is actually meant for all the different type of like work you're doing on Claude. You want to save it underneath there so you can go back to it. Okay,
yes,
thank you.
That's Claude Cowork. And yes, you would have a folder locally. You just put your stuff in there, and then you're opening Claude Cowork, pointing it at that folder. Now, when you talk to Claude, or it's looking at, it's got more context. And then the only thing I did to add on to that is I added structure. Like here, like information about me is here, information about what I like is here, information about, the jobs is here. So those are subfolders within it.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we're on to our last slide. So if I were to sum it all up and just have three things, it's take that pause moment to know who you are, what's important, what you've accomplished, so that you can go in understanding what you're looking for, right? I think that's just so important. So you have to know what you're looking for and have top of mind some of the things you've accomplished, because you're going to have so much doubt, going on in your head. You need to remind yourself, no, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that. So this is grounding you so that you can stay positive and have that positivity grounded in your own experience. The second thing is obviously use AI in so many ways. It's not going to replace, you have to bring your authentic stories, your real experience into it, but AI can help you talk it through, think it through, help you draft those emails. Yeah, that's just it. You don't have to shy away from AI. But it's not replacing you. It is assisting for sure here. And then lastly, you got to work with the connections you have, however it is, and any type of advice that you can find from other people, anyone who can point you in the direction of a job, all of that is probably going to be more effective than going in cold. So that's the three pieces of advice I would give. And then for those of you that are techies, I've made what I saved everything I had done, anonymized it, took a bunch of stuff out and saved it out to this public repo so you can pull it down. Honestly, it's not like you're going to probably need to modify it for how you want to work. It's not perfect, etc., but it is a system that you can use if you like this sort of thing. So, there you go.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. It was chock full of useful insights, valid information, stuff that you can already immediately apply into your day, which I'm going to. We had a lot of activity during your session, so let's go ahead and get into the Q&A, because it sounds like people have a lot that they want to inquire about or have you expand upon. I'm not seeing any hands up. Why did everybody get quiet all of a sudden? Now is your opportunity. All right, Carlo, I see your hand going up.